Hi there everyone, this is Bob Martin with rcsub.com and the Nautilus Dry Docks, and this is the next chapter in the continuing odyssey to build this OTW Type VII U-boat model for RC. So what I'm going to do this morning is chop it into little pieces, and I'm going to show you what I've got going on here. So this is the main hull itself. It's about 82.5 inches in length, so extremely large model, and as you can imagine would be somewhat problematic to transport to and from the pond. So what I'm going to try and do is eliminate two issues at the same time with one solution. So the first issue is that the opening in the upper part of the hull, even if you remove the deck, is too small to put the cylinder in. So you have to actually stretch it and pry it apart and slip it in, and you can see you got some scratches going along. You know, cosmetic, but certainly it's not exceptionally professional. So what we're going to do to solve that issue, as well as the transport issue, is we're going to make some cuts. And you can see I've scribed here with pencil around the entire perimeter of the hull, here in front of the saddle tanks, and again here behind the saddle tanks. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop the hull at those two pieces, making three sections. So I'm going to end up with a 22 inch, a 38 inch, and a 23 inch long section. And what I've actually got on order is another Pelican case similar to the one that I put together for the Disney Nautilus RC model that you may have seen in one of my other builds. Very high quality, nice and sturdy, with foam padding inside, and once the model is disassembled into three pieces, theoretically, it will all be able to fit inside that transport case, which should make it nice and easy for transportation. So that's what we're going to do here right now. I'll show you in a few minutes how things turned out. Alright, and here we have the finished cut. I used a 1/32 diamond cutoff wheel in my Dremel, and as you can see, I can now slip the cylinder in nice and easily from either the front or the rear. And I'll choose probably whichever end has the bigger opening, and it looks like it'll probably be the rear section there. Simply slide the cylinder in place and we'll get it locked down. Got the brass deck sitting up on top here right now, so my next step is going to be securing this at the proper size. You can see there's a lot of flexibility and wiggle in here right now, so I'm going to add some bulkheads to both this side and the other side of the hull, mate them together, and that'll add a lot of structural rigidity to both pieces, and then they will secure together with these stainless steel bolts. And I haven't decided if I'm going to use wing nuts or standard bolts, but we'll get that figured out there afterwards. So next step, get that hull pinched together at the proper size, trace out some templates, cut out some thick plastic bulkheads, and hopefully we will have a nice rigid boat to work with. Alright, this is what I came up with to true up the hull. I used a brass rod with some collars on there to secure the proper width, and I got that by putting the brass deck up on top and getting the proper measurement there. And then I used this clamp to true up the hull because everything shifted to the side, and you can see actually now that I don't need this, I can take this off. So if you look from the side here, it is a little bit wonky. So use the clamp to square things up, and what I managed to get was this template cut on 1/4 inch solid plastic sheeting. So I am going to cut that out and adhere it into the hull with both CA and fiberglass to make a nice strong bond, and hopefully it'll work to hold all of the pieces together. Okay, I am just about to adhere the bulkheads into the center hull section. You can see I've got this forward bulkhead in place, and you can see how it's going to sit, where the inside piece will be adhered to the middle section, the outside piece will be adhered to the bow. And take a look at the back here. This is sort of what the assembly is going to look like. So you can see there's the aft bulkhead and then the forward bulkhead of this rear section. And this is bolted together. I've cut the opening so that the watertight cylinder can slip through the one section, and then in the back one where all the linkages will be able to get through. So this is going to go right in here like this, and that'll maintain the shape of the hull and also allow the pieces to be bolted together and keep everything in one piece. Alright everyone, welcome back after the Christmas break. I know if you're watching this video we kind of jumped around, but this is about a week after my last recording, and I got a little bit of stuff done. I wanted to show you where I'm at. If you remember, I had the hull split into 3 pieces, and I've got it put back together again at this point. So here's the seam. As it stands right now, it's about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. I've got the bulkhead secured with these countersunk screws. Now those are very shortly going to get puttied in so that you can't see them at all. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put some tape in here and fill this seam so that, theoretically speaking, we'll have just a hairline crack that will be barely visible once the model is all painted up and ready to go. I'm also playing around with the conning tower. What I wanted to do was install some LED lighting, port and starboard. I got the red and green lights. I carved out the existing lights which were molded in, and these are just sitting here right now. Put some LEDs in. I'm going to build a brass cage for those. I've already done that for the back section here. Hopefully you can see what I've got going on. Again, that's a little brass shroud around the light to make it a little bit more authentic. One of the big things though that I need to mention is that I encountered a massive problem with the torpedoes. If you remember correctly, my previous versions, I've built these brass pressure vessels that went inside an aluminum tube. Everything worked out exceptionally well. They fired in my test extremely well. Went for about a good 10 or 12 feet off of just a few second charge, so I'll get significantly more than that. However, the problem is that they sink. They are not buoyant. They are probably just a couple of grams too heavy. Therefore, you people watching these videos, do not do what I did. Too heavy. So, plan B. I did away with the internal pressure vessel and turned the whole torpedo into a pressure vessel. So this is 9/16 brass tubing, capped it at both ends, ran the 1/16 inch nozzle out the back, cut off the forward and aft ends of the torpedo, adhered them directly to the body with rubber reinforced CA, and I think that's going to be important because you need to have a little bit of give, because this pressure vessel is going to be expanding and contracting quite a bit, and traditional CA will likely crack, which would not result in loss of the weapon. However, it would not look very good to not have a nose cone on there. So this is the new torpedo. I just a few minutes ago dunked it in my pool. This particular one is just slightly positively buoyant. It'll actually fire, and then when it's empty it will hang in the water just like this. So I'm about to make the second brass torpedo. Again, stock brass tubing. What I've done is I've hollowed out the nose cone and the tail cone, and I am going to make sure that those stay full of air, and that'll give just a little bit more positive buoyancy to them. I think it'll be just about perfect. And reason for that is you don't want an exceptionally buoyant torpedo. Otherwise, what will end up happening is it'll eject from the launcher and immediately make a beeline for the surface, and likely come popping out. Won't look very cool. So what we want to aim for is getting the torpedoes to be neutrally buoyant, or heck, even maybe slightly negatively buoyant when fully charged of the liquid air, so that they fire out in a straight line, and then as the liquid is dispelled, the torpedo will become more and more buoyant until it finally reaches the surface. So that's where we're at right now. Again, like I said, plans for the rest of the day, doing a little bit of filling, letting that cure up, and manufacturing at least one more torpedo. Alright everyone, this is going to be the last little section of this chapter of the build. I'll show you where I am at before we pick up with the next one. I had wanted to test out these torpedoes in this chapter, so I apologize. It'll be next one, and it'll be fairly quickly. I've got 2 torpedoes built here so far in the manner that I'd outlined a little bit earlier. Got the fittings for the next one done, and I'm going to build one more so he has a spare. Here's the seam that we ended up with. As you can see, it's virtually a hairline. I'm still filling a few of the small little divots and such that are left over after chopping up that hull, but all in all it turned out actually really good. I replaced the stiff wire that was here with some brass chain. I just thought it would add a little visual interest, a little bit of dynamic movement. And the last thing I want to show you here is the upper deck that I'm going to be putting on. Now, I ran through a few different variations of hold downs. Here, where these cleats would have been, I've actually got some screws, some stainless bolts that'll hold down these sections, and the same thing at the back here. But for the most part, what I've actually went to, and I'm going to move this a little bit, are magnetic hold downs. You can see these little button magnets on the top, and that holds the deck down actually really well. These are flush mounted on the bottom, so really you just snap it down, and that holds it really firmly. And this will give good access, you know, for the owner when you're at the pond to get to the linkages and such, so you don't have to bother with fasteners and that sort of a thing. So that's where we're at. I'll get into a few more details in the next one. Obviously progressing build. Got my rudder linkages are all connected here. Dive planes are all installed. And here, again, I think I showed this to you before, is the LED light at the back. So we're pretty well progressing on schedule, at least as far as I'm concerned. Holidays kind of messed up my my progress, my speed, but we're back at it now, and feel pretty confident that we're going to get this thing in the water here fairly quickly. So thanks for joining me, and we will see you next time.